Hello and welcome to episode 15 of the She.Must.Knit podcast. My name is Erin and thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. I hope you guys had a great week. We had a week. It wasn't a bad week, but Avery is home from school now for summer vacation and we have just been figuring out a new schedule. We need to do things every day almost. She is a social butterfly. I don't need to be social, but she needs to be social, otherwise she drives me crazy. So we've been trying to figure out activities and just how to get out of the house, but then I still need to get work done and I need to knit, priorities, right? So we've been figuring that out this week. We're getting used to a new schedule. And plus the weather has been crazy. It has been blazing hot this week. Thank goodness for air conditioning and splash pads. That's all I have to say. I don't know where, well, I know, you guys are all over the place, but has the weather been like crazy where you are too? We had a bonkers thunderstorm last night. I was actually hoping to record last night once Avery went to bed, but it was just a crazy thunderstorm. It was so loud. The lights were all crazy, and so I just figured I'd take my chances and do it today. Avery is home. She's in the other room. She's promised me she was going to be good. I can't promise the same thing about Mr. T because he's wandering around as well and he's in a bit of a mood, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we are going to do this today and I have a lot to talk about. Considering how much I wasn't home this week, we went to the library a lot, again, splash pads. I'm actually pretty surprised with how much I accomplished. I'm pretty proud of myself. I have a lot to share with you. I have a finished object to share with you. I have some new I have a new cast on. I have a project casualty. I have a soon to be cast on, and I have some progress on a project that you've seen before. And then of course I have my collection. I have some spinning to talk about. So much stuff. So much stuff. So the first thing I am going to start with is the winner for my June draw. As I've explained before, every month I tally up comments on any of my videos as well as orders placed through my website, Bling Your String. And any comment on any of my videos counts as an entry for the month that it is the month that you comment. And any orders placed on my site, each item that you order gets an entry, and then I do a monthly draw for a $20 coupon that you can use in my shop. So I did the drawing for June, and we had 95 entries. That is awesome, guys. Thank you so much. And the winner for June is Cheryl Arnett. And Cheryl, I know you're watching because you comment every week. I so appreciate that. And you are the winner this month. So just contact me either through Ravelry or the contact page somewhere on my website, and let me know that you've seen this, and I will send along the coupon code for you. So again, thank you, and thank you for everyone who comments and participates. And of course, if you place an order, I appreciate that as well. So let's get started. I am going to have my sip as usual. I've got an iced coffee today. It has been so hot this week. Like I said, this week, actually today, we were out earlier. I had to go to the post office. And there's a really nice cool breeze today because of the storm we had last night. But the rest of this week was so hot. So hot. And I am not a hot weather person. So anyway, let's get going. So the first thing I'm going to share with you is some spinning. Last week I shared with you 2 braids of fiber that I was working on to try and get done as soon as possible before the Tour de Fleece starts. And I think that actually starts today. I'll have to look that up, but I think it's the 7th. I think it starts today. And I was trying to get a bulky spin done because it was going to complete another box on my bingo card. I already completed a skein earlier this year, and if I did a second skein, then that box would be complete. And so I was like, let's try and get a nice bulky skein done quick before Tour de Fleece and the next project that I have planned. And I finished that, and I have it right here. So this is a hefty skein. I haven't weighed it, but I used 2 4-ounce braids from Fat Cat Knits, who sadly is no longer dyeing yarn and fiber. So I'm kind of torn. A lot of the times when I do spinning and like with my hand spun, I'll put it up for a trade option. Like, you know, I don't mind keeping it. It's just I don't tend to knit with my hand spun as much as I enjoy producing it. So sometimes I will put things up for trade. But I can't get Fat Cat's knits anymore. And these colors, these are the colors that just instantly draw me in and make me swoon when I see them on yarn, like those sunset deep purples and fuchsias and oranges with little pops of yellow and stuff like that. Those are the colors that draw me in. So this is the type of skein that these are the colors that I love. And yeah, so I don't know. This might just have to marinate in the stash for a little bit. I haven't decided yet if I am going to keep this one or offer it up. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. It is definitely like a chunky weight. Yes, it's definitely thicker than a worsted weight. I got about 185 yards. So, I mean, there is enough to do like an accessory for sure, like a cowl or a hat or something. But yeah, I love looking at it. It's just so pretty. I'm very happy with this. And this is done. So now I can start on my next project. And what is that, mate, you ask? I talked about it a little bit last week for Tour de Fleece, which starts, I believe, today. And if you're not familiar with Tour de Fleece, it's basically just kind of like, it's not really, it's a personal competition. It's like a spinning competition. You can join groups on Ravelry, you can join teams. I usually just do it on my own. I did start a thread in my Ravelry group if any of you are participating and you just want to pop in there and chat about what you're doing. But you just kind of challenge yourself. So for Tour de Fleece this year, I am challenging myself to get through the bare fiber that I need in order to complete the hand-spun owl blanket that I showed a few weeks back. The reason that project has stalled is because I need to spin bare yarn and then speckle it as the accent color for that blanket. And spinning bare fiber is just so boring. So I put it off and I put it off, and that's why I'm not finishing that project. So I went through my stash and tried to gather up all the bare fiber that I had been collecting for that project. And I've come up with 10 ounces. I thought I had more, but hopefully 10 ounces will be enough. I've ordered this from Acme Fibres, and I really love them for bare fiber, and they have other stuff as well, and I especially love them for needles. That is where I always buy my high needles, and then now the Chiagu mini twist that I'm obsessed with, I get needles from them. And if you're in Canada, they and you only order needles, they ship them in like an envelope, so the shipping is super cheap. So yeah, so I got this from Acme Fibres, and I have 10 ounces of undyed superwash BFL. I think the other yarn that I had been using for the blanket was superwash merino, and the BFL seems to be a little more of a cream color than that, but I'm hoping once I put the speckles on and it's all done, that overall in the blanket, especially if I mix up the placement, I'm hoping it will be okay. But that is my goal for Tour de Fleece. Over the next 3 weeks, I want to get this spun up so that I can get moving on that project. So yeah, let me know, are you doing Tour de Fleece? Pop into the Ravelry group or comment below. Let me know what your plans are. So the next thing I'm going to share with you is progress on my Daisy Girl Tee test knit that I am doing for Stephanie Lotvin. And I made really good progress on this. I didn't work on it last week because the finished object that I showed you then was the doll sweater that I was working from the same yarn so that Avery could have kind of a matching garment. I've been trying, that was another bingo square. I've been trying to do 3 of those this year, and that project completed that bingo box. But yeah, so now that that little doll sweater was done, I was able to go back and use the rest of the yarn for the body of this sweater. So where you see the little socks there, that's where I was last week, and I was able to knit all of this week. I've used up every scrap of this yarn. I had it somewhere, but it's not on the table anymore. It was just like this, Mr. T better not have stolen it. I'm gonna have to check that, but I had just like probably 2 yards of yarn left, so I was able to use all of this skein for the body after making that little doll sweater. And this is Spunwear Over the Rainbow, and the colorway is Rainbow Storm, I believe. So yeah, I've got the body done, and now I'm on to the next part, which is the bodice. And what I'm going to be doing is splitting the front and the back, and then doing the kind of stitch work that is done on the bodice. So I'm almost there. I have found with bottom-up sweaters in the past, once you get to that point where you're splitting the front and back, it goes really, really quickly. I would love to have this done for you next week. That would be awesome, but we'll see. So I have the body done, and like I said, I did use up all the yarn from this, and I was a little short on length for the pattern for the size 6. This was supposed to be 12.75 inches from the cast on edge, and I'm at 12 inches. But I think it'll be fine. She's not overly tall for her age, so I think with blocking and everything, it will be fine. So the next part is going to be the bodice, and I think why I've put this off just a little bit, and I've been working on other projects now, is in the original pattern, it's just 2 colors that it calls for the bodice. So you kind of have like a background color and then another contrast color that does these little daisy stitches that go across. And because I'm working with minis instead of full skeins, I'm going to have to tweak that a little bit. So these are the remaining colors that I'm working with. These 2 contrast colors have already come into play with the hem. And then these 2 here are what I'm going to be using as my background color for the bodice, and then the purple here is going to be the daisy stitch. So now that I've read through the pattern and what I have to do for the bodice, it looks like I'm going to have to alternate these 2. And then, so it's like 2 rows of your background color and then 2 rows of your daisy stitch. So there's going to be lots of strand management for the bodice, but I think the overall effect will be pretty. I just have to get through juggling all these little balls. And then this pink here, because I don't have a ton of it left, I'm going to save it for, I definitely want it for the neckband, and then I'll see after that what I have left, and I might do the sleeve bands in one of these 2 colors. So we're just going to have to see how it goes, play it by ear, and what happens happens. You will find out after I find out, right? So that is that project, and I'm really, really happy with how it's turning out. I think it's going to be super cute, and I think she's going to enjoy wearing it. These are all her colors: pink, purple, and rainbows. The next thing I have to share is a soon-to-be cast on. And this is a soon-to-be cast on that is the result of a project casualty that has then led to a new cast on. Did you follow that? Let me explain. So, on my bingo squares, one of my goals this year is to make 2 Christmas pillows. I saw these patterns last year in the fall and thought they were just so cute, and I wanted to make them for Christmas last year, but I just didn't have time. So I had bought the yarn, didn't get to them, and I want to make them this year. So I've decided I want to get these started this month. I fully don't intend to finish them, but I want to get them going just so that hopefully by Christmas they will be done. So the yarn that I have for this project is Bernat Super Saver, and it's just giant balls of acrylic, and it is glorious, and I think it'll be perfect for those pillows. And the reason that I wanted to start these this month, again, is so that they could be done for Christmas. But I also needed another project for my color work at Cal. This is the Cal that is going on in the Bling Your String group. If you are working on any color work project, whether it's stranded, intarsia, mosaic knitting, brioche, as long as you are manipulating at least 2 colors in something other than simple stripes, you can participate. And it goes till the end of July. And I wanted to start another project for this Cal because the project that I had already started for this Cal, yeah, that's the project casualty. So I have it here. This is the remains of my project. Guys, it's my Lisa Ross Impossibly Possible socks. This project is no more, and I feel so bad. I'm so sorry, Lisa, especially since she sponsored this Cal with some of her patterns, and I'm so grateful for that. I really wanted to make this pattern. But with the summertime here now and our schedule just being different than, you know, when she's in school, I had to reevaluate some of my projects. And what I need right now, when we're going to the library, we're going to the splash pad, we're running around everywhere, I need projects that are very easy to pick up and grab and go and put down. Sometimes her activities are only an hour, so I just need to be able to put things down and go get her, and then go somewhere else, and you know the drill, right? So this pattern, because the stitch pattern is a 20+ row pattern, I had to keep referencing the chart, and it wasn't a difficult chart. This isn't a difficult pattern, but I needed to have the pattern with me in order to work on this project, and I needed to reference at least every 2 rows. I needed to reference the chart. So it just wasn't working for what I needed from my knitting at this time. I fully intend on revisiting this pattern in the fall when she's back in school, because I do think it's really, really pretty. Like, I just love it. It looks so complex, but it's done with slip stitches. It's done with mosaic knitting, so it is so simple, but it looks so fancy. So I do want to make this again, and I will be using different yarn, because the yarn that I was using for these socks, I wanted to make a pair of socks for my friend who loves autumn colors and she loves purples. And I thought these colors were perfect. So I still wanted to make socks for her, and I wanted those done sooner than later. So I have used the yarn for a new project. And that brings us to my new cast on. So yes, you will see this pattern again. Don't know when, but it will definitely be after she's back in school and some of the summer craziness has just died down a little bit. So sorry, Lisa, but I will be coming back to this, I promise. So what did I cast on? So like I just mentioned, what I need from my knitting right now with the summer and just our busy schedule is something that I can just grab and go, not worry about having a pattern with me, and just be able to easily memorize and just be able to do it. No thinking, just do. So one of the boxes on my bingo card is to knit 2 pairs of cuff down socks, and I prefer toe up socks. I am a toe up girl through and through. I just find it the most enjoyable process for making socks. But the reason I put that goal on my card is because I want to push myself a little bit and maybe look at patterns that I wouldn't have otherwise looked at. And I have made one other pair this year of a cuff down pattern, and I really enjoyed it. So knowing that I needed to make one more pair of cuff down socks to complete that box, but that I also needed something that was going to be easy to memorize but still kind of interesting, that I could do cuff down, I decided to look at the pattern catalog from Mina Phillip, the Knitting Expat. And I watch her podcast, and I've watched her as she's developed as a designer, and she was the first person to come to mind because her socks, I think, are pretty well known for being more textured stitches, so not necessarily fancy, but just a textured stitch. And I know a lot of them, she says, are very easy to memorize, and she often does the pattern just along the front, which means there's a lot more just plain knitting. And I believe now most of her patterns are written to be both cuff down and toe up. And the other reason I really wanted to check out her patterns was because she uses the German short row heel. And I have really started to enjoy doing that heel. I've used that heel, I think the first time was with my stripes and stranded socks. And it was just such an enjoyable process, and it fit my foot pretty well. And so since then, for socks that I make for myself, I have been using that heel. And so I knew Mina Phillip uses the German short row heel in her patterns, but she also includes instructions for a modified gusset kind of adjustment. So often with the short row heels, there isn't a lot of depth to the heel. And so she's included instructions to kind of give a little bit of extra room around the heel. And I really wanted to try that adjustment. So I was like, you know what, this is perfect. I'm sure in her catalog I can find a pattern that will fit all my needs right now. And so I did. I looked through them and I tried to find one. I knew I was going to be working with the striping yarn that I took from the Impossibly Possible socks. So I wanted to try and find a pattern of hers that looked nice with self-striping yarn as well. And so I went through all the projects and I found one and I bought it, and here it is. So this is what I have started so far. And these are the Q-Train socks. And they are written, you could do them cuff down or toe up. I am doing them cuff down because I want to complete that bingo box. And it's just this very interesting stitch pattern. Now, I have thoughts about this pattern. Or not the pattern itself, it's very well written, but I have thoughts about this stitch pattern. When I cast on these socks, so I cast these on yesterday while we were at the library, so I got all of this done a little bit in the afternoon and a little bit in the evening. And when I got down to where the stitch pattern starts and I did the first row, I had to stop and I was wondering, I was like, am I doing this right? It's a very interesting stitch. It's nothing that I've ever done before in any other pattern. I've never come across anything like this, and it's a stitch that feels very odd to do. Like, it just doesn't flow on your needles very well, and so I had to go, and in her pattern she doesn't have a tutorial or a link for a tutorial or anything, so I figured it couldn't be that, I'm probably overthinking it, right? And so I went through some of the project pages for this pattern, and there were a number of people who were like, oh, these socks took so long, I really didn't enjoy this stitch, and you know, it's not a very intuitive stitch, and you know, blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, wonderful, what have I gotten myself into? You know, I wanted just a nice, easy, quick pattern, and you know, what's going to happen? So I kept going with it, and it does look like the picture and the other project, so I figure I am doing it right. But it's like I said, when you get to that stitch, the row with that stitch, you kind of have to work those stitches a little extra, and it's just not a stitch pattern that flows. So that row does take a little longer. However, it's a 2-row repeat, and one of those rows is a knit row, and this stitch pattern is only on the front. So I'll just show you to compare. This is the back of the sock. So this is just the yarn in stockinette. So really, you're only working that stitch pattern every other row on half the stitches. It's okay, it's not that bad. And I do think it creates a really, really interesting texture that still lets self-striping yarn show through really well. So I'm going to keep going with these socks. Again, these are from my friend. I think she's going to like them. I did try them on, and they do fit well. So this yarn here is White Birch Fiber Arts in Hope. And then this yarn here was a Louette Little Gem that I over dyed. So where the flecks are, that was the original color. It was a really pale mint green, and I over dyed it to try and get a color that would coordinate with this when I was doing the Impossibly Possible socks, because you needed a darker color for the color work. But I still really like how those go together, and I think these are going to make some really nice socks. And I'm excited to get to the heel so I can try the mini flap adjustment thingy. I've never done that before, and I'm excited to see if it does make a difference with the fit of the heel, because then maybe I will incorporate that into some of the socks I make as gifts. Up until this point, I've been totally a Fleegle heel knitter. I find it to be a very forgiving heel, especially when you're knitting it for other people. But we'll see how this works, because I really do enjoy actually knitting the German short row heel. It's a quick little heel to knit. So this is my new cast on, and we'll see how these progress over the summer. The final thing I have to talk about before we get to the collection this week is I wanted to do a June goals recap. So what my goals were for June, what I ended up accomplishing, and then what I want to accomplish this month in July. So for June, I'm going to pop up a picture of my finished objects that I completed for June. My June goals were to finish my May sweater, and I did that. I finished it. I am so happy with the result. That is done. My next goal was to finish the gradient spin and film the video on how to chain ply with beads. I did that. That is done. To finish the bulky spin. Now, I did not finish that in June, but it wasn't much after that it's done. I showed it to you. You can see that it's done too. My other goal was to finish the Impossibly Possible socks from Lisa Ross. Womp womp. Nope, that didn't happen. I will get back to those, but yeah, I didn't finish those as I was hoping to. And then my final goal for June was to finish my June pair of the Desert Vista Dye Work socks for her year-long challenge, and I did that. Now, it was almost down to the wire, but I did finish that. And then on top of that, I was able to finish 3 bonus projects. I was able to do the doll sweater to match Avery's sweater that I am currently working on. I was able to do the little bike bag that I showed, and she has been using it, and just update. The Velcro so far is working really well. She's been able to put her water bottle in there and extra stuff, and it has stayed on. So that has worked really well. And then I made my unicorn and fairy MCAL. And can we just talk about the unicorn in the room? Okay. So last week, a couple of you commented, because I didn't say anything, but you commented down below that it made you laugh where I have placed my unicorn. I don't know if you've noticed, but she is sitting right there in my fishbowl. So when I showed her as a finished object, I was saying how I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to keep her or if I was going to give her away, because Mr. T is absolutely obsessed with her, and there was nowhere I could put her that he wouldn't find her and try and get at her. And someone made the comment, oh, it's too bad you couldn't put her in like a little display case. And I was like, oh, that would be great. But, you know, I don't have one. And then one day it occurred to me, I was like, oh, that's kind of a case, right? So I popped her in there just to see how it would go. And funny story, Mr. T is such a rascal. He's such a rascal. I had her in there. Now, originally it was down on this shelf. I came downstairs one day and there was stuff all over the floor. And I was like, what the heck? What happened? This fishbowl was tilted, like pushed forward, almost to the tip of the shelf. The llama and Princess Buttercup there, and now this little monkey was up here before, but all this stuff here was knocked down on the floor, and this was almost to the edge. And I was like, oh, he tried to get at her. He tried to get at her again. So I've moved her up there. We'll see how it goes. But he's such a pain in the butt sometimes. I don't know what it is about the unicorn, but that's the story with her. She's up there. So far she's been safe. I kind of like how she looks in there. Someone said I should make her like a little bikini and mermaid outfit. I think that would be adorable. That might have to happen, but yeah, that's where she is for now. So finally, before we get to this week's collection, I just wanted to go over what my goals are for July. What do I want to accomplish this month? So I've made my little list. Now, one of these I've already finished, which is awesome. So the first goal for July that I had was I wanted to finish my bulky spin. That is done. Check, check. One off the list. The next thing I wanted to do this month is to participate in Tour de Fleece and try and get that bare fiber spun up and ready to be dyed so I can finish my owl blanket. So that is my next goal. My next goal is to cast on the first Santa pillow that I talked about earlier. That shouldn't be hard. I mean, my goal is just to cast it on, get it started. I should be able to do that if I sit down one afternoon. Next, I want to cast on a pair of cuff down socks. That's done too. I've cast on my Q-Train socks, so technically that's done. So we'll see how far I can get on those. Next, I want to finish my July DVD socks. I have not missed a month yet, so hopefully that will not be a problem. I'm already making really good progress on those. Next, I want to cast on the Stressless socks by Carolyn McPherson. It is a new pattern that is supposed to be easy and, you know, comfortable, and I'm making those for my brother. I want to cast those on. That shouldn't be a problem. It's just to get them started. And finally, I want to make progress on a garment, whether that's casting on a new one. I've showed you in the last episode some summer tees that I am still thinking about. I really want, especially the Summerline one. Guys, I keep thinking about it. I so want to start that. But I have my atelier. Do you remember the atelier? I have that sitting in the corner. And I really should work on that too. So I just want to make progress on a garment, whether it's to start a new one, because that's another bingo square, is to do 2 garments, and I have one finished. So either start a new one and make progress on that, or work on my atelier just to make progress on a garment. That is my final goal for July. So I have a feeling that July is going to be a good month. A lot of those goals I think are very achievable. So we'll see how we do. We'll see if there's any bonus projects for July as well. So the collection. I am so excited about the collection this week. Last week I gave you 2 fabric choices. It was Alice in Wonderland or Little Mermaid. And Alice in Wonderland totally blew Little Mermaid out of the water. She is out of the water, on the ship, gone, goodbye Little Mermaid. It was Alice in Wonderland almost all the way. So I think I have a fun collection this week. I was able to do a couple of bags. So the first one I have here is one of my deluxe wee sidekicks with the clasp that you can, attach things. All my bags come with stitch markers, but you can add other things to that as well. And I just thought that this fabric it complemented some of the colors, like with the Mad Hatter there. It pulled in some of those colors, but also Wonderland is kind of a crazy place, and I felt that this fabric just kind of embodied that feeling really well. So this is the deluxe wee sidekick, and then I have 2 of my regular wee sidekicks, and the lining fabrics that I used for this week is just a nice spotted print. So I've got 2 of those. I have one of my squishy pouches that are great for throwing in, and that's got that one inside. That's great for throwing in another bag. I have one of these. And now for the yarn. So usually with the yarn, I like to pull the colors from the fabric. But this week I did something a little different, and I based the yarn colors on one of the characters. So I chose the Cheshire Cat. So I pulled, the pinks and the purples and then some yellow accents for his eyes. So what I have for you is I have 1 sock blank. And so this is the sock blank here. And the yarn in this collection will be called We're All Mad Here. So that's the sock blank. And then I have something a little newer. Last time I did a yarn order, I ordered 1 sample skein of this just to see what it was like and if you guys would be interested in it. So I've said before, I'm not a fan of single ply yarn so much, but I know a lot of you are. So this is a single ply merino with stellina, and so I decided to do 1 of the skeins on this week. Let me know what you think of this base. Do you think, should I order more of this for future collections? What do you think? Do you like it? I think it's really pretty, and I know a lot of you are shawl knitters. I think that's why I'm not so much into singles, because they're not great for garments, and I don't make shawls, but I know there's a lot of shawl knitters. A lot of you guys like your shawls, so let me know what you think of this base. So there's 1 skein of this. And then I have 1 skein of my regular 75-25 superwash merino nylon. So I have 1 of these. And then I have something else that's a little different. So I have a sock set, but I've kind of done like a deluxe sock set. So usually my sock sets come with the 50-gram skein and a 20-gram skein. For this one, I've included another 20-gram skein. So this is the Cheshire Cat, and then I've included a blue that's supposed to be like Alice in her dress. So 2 20-gram skeins that you can kind of play with for heels and toes and stuff. And then I've also included one of my clay progress keepers. So there he is with his little face, and I will pop in a better picture. So this is like a deluxe sock set, and there will only be 1 of these. And then I also did a mini skein set. So just like last time when I did the Scooby-Doo, I did a mini skein set, and these are based on the characters, or some of the characters. So this one here is based on the Caterpillar. We've got the Mad Hatter, Alice is right there, Cheshire Cat, and then the Queen of Hearts. And then of course I included another one of the clay progress keepers with his little face there. So that is the mini skein set for this week. And last week I did mention that I have a sale coming up. Be sure to go to my website and join the newsletter, because I will be sending a heads up on that. So that will be in the middle of the month. And I've decided that because this week and next week are going to be the newest collections before that sale, this collection and next week's collection will not be included in the sale, but every other item that is ready to ship that is currently on my website will be included in the sale. So just a heads up on that. That is coming. Yeah, so now we just have the vote for this week. And I pulled some more fabrics from my stash. Fabric stashes. It's an endless supply, right? Endless supply. So your first choice this week is this one here. Is that upside down? There we go. So some foxes. I thought these were really cute, and you know, I love working with aqua and orange, so I thought that would be a nice, and I can find some really nice complementary fabrics to go for with the bags for this. So that is choice number 1. It's going to be foxes. And then choice number 2, I've got some adorable llamas. So choice number 2 is llamas. And I just think there's some really interesting colors in there to pull from that are like, you know, the little accents. So this could make some really interesting yarn. So this is choice number 2, the llamas. Everybody loves a llama, right? Right. So that's choice number 2. So let me know, comments below, are we going with foxes for the next collection or llamas? And again, every comment on any video will go toward that month's coupon, and then any order in my shop, each item gets an entry. So that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me again. I hope you have a fantastic week, a great weekend. I hope you get to make all the things you want to make and you have lots of fun crafting time. I will see you soon.